in dynamic leadership pathways. He intends to share his insight from a book he read. His focus is to organize his speech effectively and request the audience to evaluate on better flow, body language, and how you all like his content. Please help me welcome Mandar.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. We all face a problem, and we have thousands of solutions out there. The problem can be anything, from your work, personal issues, and other thousands of things. And you have everyone out there who can give you advice. And there is one problem to that, like how do we implement it? It's often a challenge when we seek out a solution to a particular problem. We find ourselves getting nowhere. So I read a book called The Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. Atul Gawande is a doctor, a surgeon who is based in California, and after years of his surgeries and experiences, he formulated a simple but very precise solution on how to get things right. It is a formulation of checklist on any particular task. One may be confounded by this idea, like a checklist can be so simple, and how can it be helpful without being so neglected towards the other obstructions which we face. For example, I come from an engineering background, and for me, any deviation in my results or any mistakes can affect almost 15 to 20 people out there, and the rework can be so daunting. A few weeks back, I was talking with John, and he was telling about a mishap in the design of a beam, and it can just be cumbersome, and like there is only best solution to such problems is to avoid it. But there is another problem. How do you construct a checklist? Because there are noises from everywhere in this world, and you have to be precise. So, for example, when you decide to form a checklist, you have to keep three things in mind. It has to have a perceived outcome on where you want to go, what your intended results should be. It should not have a lot of things, like a pursuit of essentialism is very important when you construct a checklist. Dr. Atul Gawande talks about one particular example where he was faced with a critical solution when a mere 10-year-old girl was drowned in a lake, and they had to undergo an operation for almost 2.5 hours, and it was almost a miraculous save of that girl. And people outside just think that this is part of a destiny, but I beg to differ. there are thousands of things a surgeon, a doctor has to consider to get the right treatment for a patient. Imagine your loved one in a deathbed, and there is possibility of thousands of things that can happen, and even a minute mistake from a doctor. For example, if the syringe is not cleaned enough, or the blood pressure which is required to be maintained at a particular range is not set right, then things can go bad, and it's very hard to get back to square one once you have not not inculcated the right process for things. So, in order to make a right effort towards this, I decided myself to that I should make use of checklists in my life. So, for the first checklist which I made was what not to do, because we have plenty of things, and I am always trying to get the most out of the day, and sometimes it is hard for me to find time for myself and not think too much ahead. So that checklist just included 5 points, 5 bullet points, and that's it. Like, I have to just neglect the system 2 thinking of my brain, and the system 1 thinking, which Daniel Kahneman talks about in his Thinking Fast and Slow, that we have to automate the processes, and there is nothing better way to do it other than checklist, because when you write things in an orderly manner and there is an orderly construct in them, you unconsciously tend to follow them. So I request all of you to read this wonderful book by Dr. Atul Gawande and use that in your daily life. Thank you.
Yeah.